Yeah, what's up, Broncos country? How's it going tonight, guys? So Mohamed's back this week. As most of you know, last week I did a live by myself. I did my first mock draft, for the entire first round. But this week we're gonna just do a mock draft for the Broncos, all their picks. I think they got a first, a second, a third, a fourth, and three sixths. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about Stephon going to the Patriots, Russ going to the Giants. The Giants actually coming to Denver this year and playing the Broncos. We'll finally get to see that game with Russ coming back to Denver. And we might go over the division too, all the head coaches in here and who we think, what the standings are going to be in the AFC West. So let's get into it, guys. Also, if you have any comments, or anything, please get them in tonight. Also, like, comment, subscribe on this video, and also hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. So the first start, Mohammed, I wanted to get your gut reaction on this. Your gut reaction. What was your gut reaction to Stephon Diggs going to the New England Patriots?
Um, I'm not surprised somebody signed him, Eddie, but the money that they gave him is the surprise part for me. His like injury concern, his diva-like behavior. I'm really happy the Broncos stayed away from him. You know, but I can't believe the Patriots give him all that money. I mean, I don't think it's all guaranteed, but still, they really see something I don't see. He's coming off an injury. He always wants the ball. He's gonna start something. I don't want anything like that on my locker room. So, hey, the Patriots made that bet. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, they got Stephon just for Drake May. Like, we know that. Like, they don't hardly have any weapons over there in New England. They had to do something. But I'm like, dude, there's so many other people you could have brought in that's not coming off like a season-ending injury, like Diggs. You could have got Keenan Allen, I think it was. You could have been I mean, Cooper Cup, I think, was in the mix for them. I don't think he wanted to go to New England. As reports said, he wanted to stay on the West Coast. But I'm like, you could have traded for somebody. You could have went out and got Amari Cooper, maybe. Like, you could. There was a bunch of play or receivers out there you could have got that wasn't coming off a season-ending injury that you didn't have to pay all the money to, and like you said, didn't have to do with the diva aspect of that whole thing because he's going to demand the ball, and when he doesn't get it, he's going to cry about it, and he's going to cause problems for that team. So, I mean, I don't like the Patriots, like I never have, but I do like Drake May. I think he's going to be good, which to me is great because that just makes the AFC more stacked, with quarterbacks. You know, you got this new crop of quarterbacks that came in. I think, what is it? Let's see. You got, I'm trying to think of the quarterbacks that got drafted last year. You got, most of them went to the NFC. So most of those young guys are going to be in the NFC, like, Caleb Williams. I can't remember who the second overall. Jaden Daniels to the Commanders. You had Michael Penix go to the Falcons, and you had JJ go to the Minnesota Vikings. And the only two quarterbacks that got drafted in the AFC this year, or last year, were Bo Nix and Drake May. I want that to be a rivalry, kind of like I want Justin Herbert and Bo Nix to be a rivalry. I want Patrick Mahomes and Bo Nix to be a rivalry. I want Drake May and Bo Nix, same thing. It's going to be fun. Like, the AFC is stacked with quarterbacks. Now, the NFC, depending on how the rest of these guys do, like, JJ, Michael Penix, Caleb, we know what Jaden Daniels can do. That means the NFC is going to be loaded with quarterbacks too. And it's going to be fun to watch. So, but I'm happy for Drake May. I hope, he has a good year this year. Not too good because, I want the Broncos to make the playoffs again this year. But, yeah, Drake May, he got his weapon. Hopefully, Stephon doesn't cause too much drama over there and just plays football. So, the next thing I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, and there was two quarterbacks that we were waiting to see where they were going to go. Aaron Rodgers is still a free agent. All the reports are saying he wants the Vikings, but the Vikings don't want him, which why would they? They got their young QB on the roster. So pretty much it seems like Aaron's going to go to the Steelers. But the other big one was Russell Wilson. We heard, like, Steelers didn't want him back. He went to Cleveland. He met with them. Nothing materialized out of that. And then he, met with the Giants, and He signed a 1 year. I think it was a $10.5 million guaranteed deal. I think upwards of 20 million it could be. But what were your thoughts on that, Mohammed? Russ going to the I almost said New Orleans Saints, New York Giants.
Well, Eddie, I honestly thought that Aaron Rodgers would probably sign with the team before Russ would. Um, why the Giants decided to go for him? I guess there's only two quarterbacks. They didn't want Aaron Rodgers for whatever reason, or maybe he even want to go to the Giants. I don't know. He really wanted to stay away from New York, just leaving the Jets, right? Um,
Yeah.
I don't know what the thinking is for the Giants. They pick a third overall, right? So I guess their thinking might be that the two quarterbacks that we know of might be gone by the time they pick. So they might pick something. Like they might go for Abdul Carter or somebody. Maybe they're not going to go for a quarterback this um, coming draft. So I don't know, Eddie. Like he's gonna win them some games, but how many games? I don't know. They been terrible for a long time now. So I don't know what the thinking is here, Eddie, but it's probably just to get a quarterback, a veteran quarterback in the building. But
Well, that's the thing. They also signed Jameis Winston before Russ. The Giants have Jameis Winston. So I'm like, why? But I've been watching a lot of sports talk shows, podcasts. They're pretty much indicating like, before I'd say free agency started, Shador Sanders draft or his draft stock was kind of low, like mid, maybe late first rounder. Cam Ward was like the top prospect quarterback wise. And over the last couple of weeks since free agency, started, it was like Shador's stock just shot up. So people are thinking he's going to get taken in the top five or top 10 at least. But with that said, it's a lot of the stuff I've been watching. Of course, Cam Ward, he's going to go number one overall to Tennessee Titans. They need the quarterback of the future. They don't really have any other talent on that roster. And then with the second overall pick, they're talking about the Browns taking Shador. And I'm just like, okay. So I think the Giants made these two moves, signing Jameis Winston, signing Russell Wilson. They did this because they don't think either one are going to be there by pick 3.
Yeah.
And that's very possible. Like I said, Shador's draft stock has skyrocketed over the past couple of weeks. Like a couple of weeks before free agency, like you didn't hear much. Like it was like, oh, he's going to be a middle of the first round, maybe into the first round kind of type, player that they're going to be able to draft. And now it's like he's top 10, top 5 possibly. Like people are thinking the Browns are going to take him. Because they can kind of reset their clock. Yeah, they got the Deshaun contract. They can't get out of that for another, 3 years? So they can reset it, have a rookie quarterback on a rookie scale contract, pay Deshaun to sit on the bench, and then here in a couple of years, they can build their roster and give Shador all that time as they build their roster, get out of that contract, and they got the quarterback of the future. So to me, but it's also weird. Like you still got Tommy DeVito, who I think is a solid backup. You signed Jameis Winston, and then you signed Russell Wilson. Like, what's the thought there, in your opinion, Mohammed? What is the thought of the Giants signing both Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson?
I think they're confused. They're scrambling. They don't know what to do, Eddie. Because even if the Browns are not thinking quarterback, somebody could call and say, "Hey, you want to trade?" If they're not thinking a quarterback, they should. But if they're not, somebody could call and just jump ahead of the Giants and get them. We don't have that many quarterbacks in this draft, so those are the top two. So I honestly don't know, Eddie, but there's not like the best organization to begin with. So it seems like they're confused. They're just trying to do something, you know.
Well, at pick 3, if Shador and Cam Ward are gone by pick 3, I mean, you have the pick of the litter, like you said. You can get, that pass rusher. You can get Travis Hunter.
Yeah, yeah.
Hell, is it even out of the realm of possibility that the Giants could take Ashton Genty at pick 3? They need a running back. So, but a lot of the things I've been seeing is saying the Giants are going to trade out of pick 3. They're going to, maybe trade back, get some more draft capital, and move back a few spots, and maybe still get a good blue chip prospect, but also get more draft capital. But I've heard the same thing about the Browns. The Browns could take. I actually heard one podcast talk about this the other day, that the Browns, since they might not take Shador, they might, look at a team that's behind them, like the Raiders, the Giants, or Jets,
Even the Saints.
and Saints, and be like, okay, these teams are desperate for a quarterback, and we can, since we're stuck with Deshaun anyway. I mean, they traded for who was it? Kenny Pickett, I think. They traded DTR for Kenny Pickett. They might just be like, hey, Raiders, or hey, Giants, or hey, whoever. We know you're desperate for a quarterback. Give us 2 first or 3 first or whatever, and you can trade up to pick 2 to get Shador. And honestly, I like Shador, but I think it's going to take him a few years in the NFL to get acclimated.
I agree.
But at the same time, I don't see the Raiders trading up either, because they got Geno Smith. Like, I don't think they're going to take the quarterback this year or next year, because they got Pete Carroll, who's going to be there the next 3 years. He's got his quarterback for the next 3 years. They'll probably both retire at the same time. When Pete Carroll retires, Geno Smith will probably retire. And that's going to be the Raiders quarterback for the next 3 years. But they could take advantage of, like I said, the Jets, the Giants, the Saints, and be like, hey, give us a bunch of first-round picks and maybe a second rounder and trade up to 2, and you guys can get Shador. If I had to guess right now, I don't think the Saints will do it, because they really can't afford to lose any more draft capital, because they're in cap hell.
Yeah.
I think the Jets could do it. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, yeah, they signed Justin Fields, but I like Justin Fields, but he needs to go with an offensive-minded head coach. Justin Fields does. Anthony Glynn's not offensive-minded. I mean, is it possible the Giants trade up? Is it possible the Jets trade up? I think those are the 2 most likely candidates. But if I had to guess right now, I think Shador ends up with the Jets. Personally. The Raiders, I would say them, but I don't think they're going to trade up. I don't think Pete Carroll is going to trade up to get him. He's got his quarterback for as long as Pete Carroll is going to be there. They're not going to do that. Because then the next regime is going to come in and be like, we didn't want Shador, and they're going to probably draft their own quarterback, So, yeah. But Russell Wilson going to the Giants, it's baffling to me. Like, it'd be one thing if they didn't sign Jameis Winston, but you did, and then you signed Russell Wilson. Like, what's your goal? Are you going to do pretty much what the Steelers did last year and just hope for the best? You got 2. Honestly, they're both backups in my opinion. Jameis and Russ at this point in his career. They're just gonna, shift through them the entire season, kind of like the Steelers did. Oh, we're gonna let Justin Fields play for 6 games, even though he did good, and then we're gonna go to Russ. So I don't know, man. It's crazy to me.
They're gonna have to compete. They're gonna compete. I think James Woods really beat Russ.
Well, you know what they say: if you got 2 quarterbacks, you ain't got none.
Yeah,
like
true.
I can't remember if Arch Manning comes out next year in 2026 or if it's 2027. I think it's 2026. Maybe the Giants are gearing up for that. Maybe they're just like, you know what, we're going to suck this year, and then in 2026 we're going to take Arch Manning.
I mean, if that's what they're doing, Eddie, then they need to trade back. Let somebody else.
Yeah,
get some picks.
Get some more picks to help build your roster, and you can trade back to like pick 6, pick 7, still get a blue chip player, and still get more draft capital to build your roster.
Eddie, like I have this,
and then you get Arch Manning.
I have this feeling that Shador is going to drop. I don't know why. I don't think he's going to go 2nd or 3rd. I just have this feeling that maybe people don't like him or want him teams as we think they do.
Well, how far do you think he would drop? Honestly,
I don't see him going past the Raiders. If he drops to the Raiders, they might. I don't know, Eddie. I hope not, but.
Well, that's my thing, because we know the Titans need a quarterback. Mm-hmm. The Browns, they should get a quarterback. The Giants need one. But you could use the same logic for the Giants as you would kind of for the Jets. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry, not the Jets. The
Browns.
Raiders.
Okay.
Like not like it's kind of the same, but kind of different. Like the Raiders, they got the quarterback of the future. They're not, there's going to be a new regime in there in 3 years after Pete Carroll retires. Brian Daboll's on the hot seat. He's got to win this year. If he doesn't, he's gone. So I don't think they're going to take that chance with a rookie quarterback. I mean, the Giants do need a quarterback. The Browns need a quarterback. The Titans need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. The Jets need a quarterback. The Saints need a quarterback. I think one of those teams are going to be like, no, we're going to take Shador. They're probably going to overdraft him, or they might even trade up for him. I have to look at the list of the draft positioning, but my guess is that one of these teams are going to overdraft Shador Sanders, and it's because they desperately need a quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, um, they need one. But what are your thoughts on the fact that the Browns didn't sign Russell Wilson? They're going to go into the season with Kenny Pickett. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Like they have to do what they have to do, I guess, because of this whole thing with Deshaun Watson situation. Um, I don't know, Eddie. Even if they draft a quarterback, that's going to be their starter. So because he's not going to be ready, I don't see them, letting him just play. They might let him sit at least for 5, 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, halfway through the season, depending on what Pickett is doing. I don't see him doing much. Well, the team is not bad. They don't have a bad team per se. Um, yeah, that might be the thinking. Draft a quarterback, let him sit. Kenny Pickett could play for a little bit and then start bringing him in, slowly. So
But to go back on what I was touching on, this is the draft order for the 2025 NFL draft. The Titans are number one. We know they need a quarterback. They're going to go Cam Ward. And then after that, you got the Browns who need a quarterback, the Giants. I'm going to throw this out there as just I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just going to throw this out there just in case because you never know. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I know they signed Trevor Lawrence, like last year, but maybe the new coaching doesn't want him. Maybe they try to trade Trevor Lawrence and maybe get Shador, but maybe the Jags, but the Vegas Raiders, the Jets, the New Orleans Saints are at 9. And then another team that I think could probably maybe take a quarterback because like they haven't signed their quarterback to a long-term contract, and that's the 49ers. They haven't signed Purdy yet. Maybe they want to take Shador. After that, you got Dallas, Miami, they got their quarterbacks. Indianapolis, they might want to take a quarterback.
it's going to be an interesting draft, Eddie. This is going to be very interesting. So many moving parts.
Who they didn't the Colts just bring someone in to compete with Anthony Richardson? Who was it? I can't remember who it was. Oh, it was Daniel Jones.
Oh God.
So maybe the Colts want to take a quarterback, and then after that, Atlanta, Arizona, Cincinnati, Seattle. I don't think none of those guys are going to take QBs. Tampa, no. Denver, of course not. And then the next one after that, I think would take a QB would be the Pittsburgh Steelers because they literally don't have anything. That's at pick 21. After that, like every other team's got their quarterback, So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna throw Miami in there because the Tua is one hit away from being out of the NFL. Maybe the Dolphins would want one, and like I said, the Colts. So there's like 7 or 8 teams in the top 15 picks that are going to need a quarterback. That could, if Shador falls, they might trade up or might take him at their pick. So
you kind of got me with this Trevor Lawrence thing, Eddie. Maybe he'll get traded. Maybe a team will be like, yes, we'll take him. He's not elite, but he's decent. I think he just needs. I don't know, Eddie. I think he's a good quarterback. Say he's good, not elite.
Well, I'm only saying that. Like, I think that's way out in left field. I think, I don't think it's going to happen, but anything's possible in the NFL. I mean, last year, I'm just using one example here. Last year, whenever the Falcons they signed Kirk Cousins to $100 million guarantee contract. And what they do at pick 8? Everybody was thinking they were going to go defense. They were going to go pass rusher. What'd they do? They took Michael Penix, a freaking quarterback.
That was mind-boggling.
Yeah. And in hindsight, that was a good move because Kirk Cousins looked like he fell off a cliff last year. And Penix actually looked pretty dang good in the games he did play last year. So maybe that was – but it's like we knew Kirk Cousins might have a possibility of falling off a cliff. Why would you give him all that money?
Yeah, I'm like it's only time will tell, I guess. These things we'll see. A lot of times it takes 3-4 years for us to realize if something was a good decision or not. So
yeah, well, that's the other quarterback that's on the block right now. I'm pretty sure the Falcons are willing to trade Kirk Cousins, but I feel like the team that trades for him is going to have to take on the majority of his, or at least half of his cap or his money. They're going to have to take at least half for the Falcons to trade him. If not, it's like, why bother? Why not just keep him on the roster as a backup? I mean, expensive backup, at least I keep him at that point. So, but moving on to our next thing before we get into our draft for the Broncos. This year, the AFC West, I mean, you can maybe put the Raiders aside. AFC West is stacked with quarterback and coaches. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, Sean Payton and Bo Nix, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. Now, 3 out of the 4 head coaches in this division are Super Bowl champions, Jim Harbaugh. So, what are your thoughts on the coaches? Do you think this is going to be one of the toughest divisions now that 3 out of the 4 teams in this division have their head coaches of the future and their quarterbacks of the future?
Absolutely, Eddie. And then the games within the division is going to be always like a big deal. It'll be good games, I believe. Especially, not too worried about the Chiefs. I think they're gonna fall off of a cliff. Like I don't even think they make the playoffs. That's just me, but when we play the Chargers, that's gonna be tough for both teams. I think. Hopefully we can pull through.
And this was one of my biggest talking points of last offseason, the season, and now this offseason. Going over the division. Like, everybody thinks the Chiefs are just going to cakewalk the division again. It's not going to happen. Like, they'll be like, oh, well, they're just like Tom Brady and the Patriots. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are. No, it's completely different. And I'm not saying that because I hate the Chiefs, which everybody knows I hate them. But if you stop and think back, the 20 years the Patriots were dominating the NFL, dominating that division, what was the one thing that we can look back on and be like, that's the reason why the Patriots won that division and why they were, always constantly right there at the 1 or 2 seed and making the playoffs? What was the one reason?
Their division
was garbage for 20 years. The Dolphins, the Jets, the Bills could not find the right head coach, could not find the right quarterback, and the Patriots were able to feast on that. They were winning, like, at the bare minimum, 4 games in their division a year. Most likely 5 are winning it outright. The Patriots were. The Chiefs do not have that same luxury. They have gotten worse. I'd say I wouldn't say demise, but I'd say like their team, as far as, being as talented as it was in Patrick Mahomes' first year in 2019, his first full year as a starter, has gotten worse. Lost to Tyreek Hill, lost of all the running backs I lost, offensive linemen, defensive guys. Now, they have drafted some positions relatively well, but at the same time, the Chiefs don't have that number 1 receiver. They're still looking for a number 1 receiver. They don't know what they're doing at tackle, what they're doing at guard. Travis Kelce is old as crap. Their best, player on that side of the ball other than Patrick Mahomes. Their defense is still okay, but Chris Jones is getting up there in age. These younger guys that have been there for a few years now, they're going to be wanting contracts pretty soon. And the fact that the division in itself has gotten tougher. I saw somebody, and I kind of laughed at this. I mean, it was kind of funny, but at the same time, it was kind of like, yeah, well, it's true, even though it's aggravating. The AFC West teams had to assemble the Avengers. Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, to freaking compete with the Chiefs. That is true. This division wasn't going to lay down like the AFC East did for 20 years and let the Patriots just stomp all over them. The Broncos, you now have the richest owners with the Broncos. They're like, no. We bought this team not just to say, hey, we own the Broncos. We want to win. What they do, something that's never been done. Took the biggest large dead cap hit, got a Super Bowl winning genius of a head coach in Sean Payton. He was able to get his guy. Now the Broncos are set at that position, the head coach and the quarterback. The Chargers have had the quarterback for the past 5 years in Justin Herbert. I don't think he's elite. I think he's good. He just needs the right coach around him. And then they bring in another good head coach in Jim Harbaugh, who honestly is I know people are probably going to hate me for saying this, but I think he's the fourth best coach in the division. Every other coach in this division has a Super Bowl ring, at least one. Jim Harbaugh has made it to a Super Bowl, but he's never won one. But he's still a good damn head coach. Like, there's no way the Chiefs are going to cakewalk this division anymore. This year, they're going to be competing with the Broncos and Chargers to try to win the AFC West. And I said it before, and I'll say it again. I think the Chiefs come in third. I really do. The roster is getting older, and it's getting more depleted. Andy Reid, he's got 3 rings. Like, I'm not saying he ain't going to try, but I think he's actually accomplished everything he wanted. Travis Kelce has fallen off a cliff. Patrick Mahomes is honestly, the more I watch him, the more he's getting more reckless. Now,
he's running for his life.
Huh?
I say he's running for his life. He's got no line.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's because of lack of line, lack of offensive weapons, or if he's just like whatever at this point. He just thinks, oh, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I can make magic happen. Like, I don't know what it is, but every year it seems like he's getting more and more reckless. Andy Reid is getting more older and older. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he retires next year. Travis Kelce has fallen off a cliff. Their offensive line's in shambles. Their defense is getting older with like Chris Jones and stuff like that. And then the younger guys are all going to want big paydays because a lot of these guys on their defense have won at least 2 rings by now. And they're like, hey, we want a payday. They might just lead the Chiefs and say, hey, we're going to go somewhere else and play just to get the bag because we already got our 2 rings. Like, why? So, but if I had to rank the coaches right now in this division, I hate doing this, but I would say Andy Reid is number 1. I would say Sean Payton is number 2, Pete Carroll is number 3, Jim Harbaugh is number 4. What would your rankings be, Mohamed?
It'll be about the same, Eddie. Except I think with Jim and Pete, I think they're pretty close. I would say. I know about if we're looking at the coaches that actually won a Super Bowl, you could say that. But as far as coaching, I think they're about the same.
So you got what's your ranking list though?
So Andy Reid, Sean Payton. You could either go Pete or it
Well, I give it to Pete Carroll because he's a Super Bowl champion. I mean, he was the one that built that roster. He's the one that drafted Russell Wilson. He built that defense. Granted, that was back in the day when defenses, you could actually, have a dominating defense and not that great of a quarterback and, still win a bunch of games and win a Super Bowl. Nowadays, it's about offense. You have to have the quarterback. Otherwise, you're not going to win nothing. And then Jim Harbaugh, people want to talk about, he made a Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, he made a Super Bowl, but that's it. And we've had this conversation, me and you, on air, off air. We've had this conversation. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is that otherworldly of a coach. He's a good coach, but I don't think he's one of the greats. I really don't. Because when he got to San Francisco, what was it, 13, 14 years ago, he inherited a decent roster with Alex Smith. He inherited that. Andy Reid, I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about him. Maybe he inherited, I think he actually, when he got to the Chiefs, he traded for Alex Smith or signed Alex Smith via free agency. I can't remember. But if you look at Pete Carroll, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid compared to Jim Harbaugh, Let's go with Andy Reid. Andy Reid, took over a Chiefs team that was not that great. And, it took him a few years, but he got them to win Super Bowls, had them in the playoffs almost every year, and got their franchise QB, developed him, and now they got their franchise Q. Pete Carroll. He took a Seahawks team that was literally like a dumpster fire. Never won a game, never won a Super Bowl, never won anything in their life, never even had a quarterback, a franchise kind of guy in their team's history. Goes there, builds up the defense, drafts Russell Wilson, and boom, they win a Super Bowl. Sean Payton, 2 instances. I mean, Andy Reid with the Eagles, I can't remember how that started out. I think I was like 15 or 16. No, I was probably like 10 when he took over the Eagles back in like 2000 or something, or I was 12. I don't remember off the top of my head, but like Sean Payton took over the team. I've talked about this before. Took over the Saints, who were called the Aints, that were probably not long for New Orleans. Within 4 years of being there, boom, in the Super Bowl. Took a quarterback that nobody wanted in Drew Brees, boom, made him a Super Bowl champion. Takes a Broncos team with probably not that great of a roster and a quarterback that was washed with all this, all this money. Gets rid of him, drafts his guy, and he's in the playoffs the next year. Like, Jim Harbaugh hasn't done that. He goes to a 49ers team who had Alex Smith, who was a franchise guy, had a decent roster, got into a Super Bowl, just couldn't win it. Then he takes over a Chargers team that literally had the franchise guy, had a decent roster. He's never had to develop a quarterback. Nope. So, I'm sorry. Jim Harbaugh, to me, is the worst quarterback in this division. Pete Carroll took a franchise that was horrible, got him a Super Bowl ring. Sean Payton took a franchise that was horrible, got him a Super Bowl ring. And now he's probably going to do it with the Broncos, too. Andy Reid took a Chiefs team that didn't win shit for decades and makes them relevant by making the playoffs and eventually getting a franchise guy and winning the Super Bowl a couple of times. So, I'm sorry. Jim Harbaugh is the worst coach in the division to me. But moving on from that. Oh, what were you going to say, Mohamed?
No, I was just laughing because he could have taken that Broncos job too. He didn't want to.
That's what I'm saying. Like
the challenge, he didn't want the challenge. He wanted a franchise with a quarterback. He came in. There's a quarterback there. The team is decent. It's not a hard job. So,
and that's the funny thing, because if you go back to that offseason of 2023, and we hired Sean Payton, like everybody was saying, the Broncos were the least attractive job in the NFL. It was the least attractive. You don't have that great of a roster. You got this Russell Wilson thing where it looks like Russell Wilson's washed and he's making all this money and you can't move on from him. Like, everybody was saying nobody wants to go to Denver and coach. The Chargers were a hot job that year. I mean, it wasn't open. They still had Brandon Staley, but they were talking about fire Brandon Staley. They were talking about the Cardinals being a better job, because at least they had a quarterback in Kyler Murray. The Panthers, they had I think that was right before they drafted Bryce Young. They had the first overall pick. They were able to get the quarterback of the future. The Texans had a top pick. Texans, like every other job in that cycle that was open, was more sought after than the Broncos job. Sean Payton comes in. He's like, this is it. This is all, I got Russ. I got to deal with him for maybe a year. The roster's solid. And if Russ ain't good enough, I'll get rid of him and draft my own guy, and I'll get this team back into relevancy. What'd he do? And I shouldn't bag on Jim Harbaugh so much, because, I mean, there's a lot of coaches that didn't take the Broncos job. Jim Harbaugh, of course. D'Amico Ryans didn't want it. Like, there was a lot of coaches, even what's his name? Our defensive coordinator of 2022, Ejiro Evero, didn't even want this job. It took a man with some cojones, a real freaking, that's why I call Peyton a real live head coach. Because he came in, he looked at this roster, he's like, dude, I can fix this. What are you talking about? This is not a challenge. This is easy for me. Every other coach just ran away from the Broncos. Oh, I want the Texans where I got a high draft pick, or I want the, Panthers where I have a high draft pick, or, oh, I want the Chargers because they got their quarterback. Sean Payton's like, nah, screw that, dude. I'm going to go here and I'm going to fix this team and show you all how to really do it. He did it.
Eddie, Yeah, we got to give credit to the owners of the Broncos too, because I mean, they told that he basically came in and they told him, "This is your team. You have full control. Whatever you need, um, So that's what it is. Like otherwise, he wouldn't have taken it. But I'm sure he
Oh
told
yeah.
him, "I'll see if I can rust for a year, and then if it doesn't work, I'll get my own guy." So yeah,
Yep. That takes a lot of cojones. I'll tell you that, man. It takes some big balls for somebody to do that. But
absolutely.
before we get into the mock draft, one more thing, Mohammed. I want you to pick who do you think is going to be first in this division this year, and who's going to be last in the division.
I think the Raiders gonna be last. It's gonna be a toss up between us and the Chargers, and I'm only saying this, Eddie, because we haven't had the draft yet. After the draft, that answer could change. I'm hoping we address running back. You know, maybe get a tight end in there. That would make me feel a lot better. But um, right now, we're kind of close. I think. I know you disagree, but
No, I don't. I think the Raiders are fourth in the division. They're easily going to be last. Like they're not here to win this year. I think Pete Carroll's only there to change the culture and try to get things back square with the Raiders. The Chiefs, I'll say it again, they're going to be third. I got money on this already. I've already bet my family members that the Chiefs are not winning well, I didn't bet they were going to be in third, but I bet they won't win the division this year. And my opinion is they're going to be third place. And then between second and first, I agree with you, Mohammed. We need to wait and see what happens in the draft, but I think first and second place are going to be the Broncos or Chargers.
yeah.
It's going to be one of those two guys. So that's my opinions on it. But all right, let's get into what we actually came here tonight. We're already at 37 minutes. But oh crap, didn't mean to hit that. But let's get into the draft here. All right. Oh crap, I got to come back here, put this up. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here's our mock draft for the Broncos. All 7 picks of theirs. Ignore this little thing right here, guys. I can't seem to get that to go away. But all right, Mohammed, let's do this. So at pick 20, who do you have the Broncos taking here?
I'm not seeing the screen, Eddie. Do you have it pulled up?
Oh crap. I don't think I shared it. Give me a second. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I didn't share it. That's my apologies, guys. There we go. Now can you see it?
It's loading up, but there we go.
Okay. All right, here at pick 20, who do you got the Broncos taking at pick 20?
Eddie, it's
I'm
not
assuming.
shown that the other teams didn't make their picks yet. I don't think, because we still got. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
See if you.
do you agree that will be a running back?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay, so here's all the running backs that are on the board. Out of all these, do you think Genty will be gone by pick 20? Or do you
Definitely.
think that, okay, so with Genty gone, he's off the board, guys. Out of all these other running backs, who do you think the Broncos take at pick 20?
Omarion Hampton. That's my guy.
Okay, so we got. Okay, so you got Hampton going to the Broncos here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Let's see. It's not letting me put it on there. Well, that stinks. It's not letting me do it. I don't know why. I think my computer's frozen. That stinks. So, let's see here. Let's see if I can get this to work right. Oh, here we go. There we go. It's going through. So you said you got the Broncos taking Hampton here?
Yep. Okay, he's still available.
Broncos
Yes.
taking. So, all right, go back to all here. And the Broncos don't pick again until 51. That's their second round pick this year. So here they come up. Um, with this pick, I'm going to go ahead and delete that because I'm not doing no trades on this. Um, with this pick, I'm trying to think. I know there's been a lot of talk about the Broncos maybe taking another tight end, you know, a receiver possibly. If I had to guess right now, I think the Broncos, since they only got I don't know. Let's see what wide receivers are on the board. No, none of these guys I really like. I think the Broncos take another tight end here to back up Evan Ingram for the next couple of years. I think that's what they do. But I think if and according on this mock right here, they still got Mason Taylor sitting here at 6 from LSU. I think the Broncos take him to boost that tight end room. Because
Okay.
I've heard a lot of talk that Evan Ingram's not really a tight end. He's more of a slot receiver. He's not an inline tight end. He's going to be that joker player. So I think here at pick 51, the Broncos wind up taking their tight end of the future right here.
Eddie, when we picked like the first round, like was Tyler Warren and Loveland gone? I forgot to actually see.
I believe they were, yes.
Okay.
I think they were gone, yes. But now here at pick 85 in the third round, what do you think the Broncos would do here? Like, what position do you think they would take?
I would say Eddie, an interior lineman, defensive line, D line.
D line?
Let's see. Yeah, because I have it pulled up on my phone, like as far as the. Okay, so
It's right
that's
here
wide
on the
receiver.
screen. The players that are left here.
Hmm.
You got TJ Sanders from South Carolina, Deion Walker from Kentucky, Ty Robinson, which I heard a lot of good things about him from Nebraska.
Robinson.
Yeah. But who do you think they take here, Mohamed?
All the really good ones, I obviously the ones on the top are gone.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go with Walker. Oh,
Walker?
sorry, you said Robinson, right? You said Robinson.
Yeah, from Nebraska here. That's who I saw a lot of people saying he was actually really good. He was
Okay, let's
actually,
go
I
with
think, like
him.
a second round pick. All right. Ty
Oh wow.
Robinson. So let's see. It keeps popping up with trades once it gets to the Broncos pick. I don't think, like I said, we're going to do this without trades just to make it more simple. Maybe next time we'll do it with trades.
Okay.
Next pick coming up is pick 122 for the Broncos. Now here, I don't. I think they might get another wide receiver.
Okay.
Honestly, unless they sign one in free agency, which I don't think they will. But sitting here at um, pick 122, and the one guy I really wanted, I don't know if he's still on the board here. Honestly, I had to look. Ty Johnson. I don't think. I think he got taken already. But Wells Jr. here from Miss Old Miss. I heard that he's really fast. I can't remember what his stats were from the Columbine, but I believe he's like 6'2", and he's one of those big bodies. And this guy could be the guy that could possibly replace Cortland Sutton. Now I know you have Devon Bailey on the roster for that, but the guy's already 26. I think this Wells Jr. kid, I think he's only like 23. So I think the Broncos take a wide receiver here at pick
Okay.
122. All right, let's scroll back up. Now we're simming through the rest of them.
We still got like 3 picks, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, they're all in the sixth round too. So you're skipping through the, I think it's the fifth round to get to the sixth. God, the Buffalo Bills got a lot of picks this year. Holy crap, man!
Got a hole.
I just keep seeing Bills coming across my screen. All right. Now the Broncos are on the clock at pick. What is that? 191. Who do you
Okay.
think the Broncos take here? What position?
Let's look at safeties for a minute. Let's see what they got.
All right.
See, it
Uh,
gets
he-
kind of hard towards the end, Eddie, because like most of your
oh yeah,
known players are gone. So I guess we'll
I heard
discuss.
Craig Woodson from California. He's good in the run game, which I think the Broncos could really use this year personally. But it's on you. This is your pick, Mohamed.
Can I look at edge also?
Yeah, I had to go back and hit it. Let's see, edge. Oh wow,
Right.
Q Robinson, edge here from Alabama. He fell to the 6th round. I've seen mock drafts where he goes in like the 4th, maybe even some in the 3rd round.
Really? Let's steal him then, Eddie.
So Robinson edge here. Yep, A plus right there, man. Hell yeah, love it. All right, the Broncos' next pick. I'm trying to think of any other position. I think the Broncos possibly go with a quarterback this year in the draft, just to have like a third stringer. You know, uh, Sean Payton likes carrying 3 quarterbacks on the roster, so I think that trend continues. And I think they get a young kid in the draft this year just to be like the practice squad slash third stringer. Trying to think here. I don't really know too much about these guys in the later rounds. I'm gonna go with this Riley Leonard kid from Notre Dame.
For some reason, I was looking at
I
the
think the
same.
Broncos take.
Yeah.
So I think the Broncos take him. What's the next one you got, Mohamed? The last pick of the Broncos draft.
Let's look at all again. See what we. Okay.
You ain't got too much more, but
We can take that safety. We didn't take safety, did we? Nope.
no, you went with edge on that last one. So you think they take the safety from Bama here? Moore, Malachi Moore.
Yep.
All right.
Let's see what great. Oh, A plus.
That,
Wow.
guys, is the worst
We
pick
actually
was the
did
one
pretty.
I picked with Antonio Lowe, but
Yeah.
I just think they found Devon Bailey last year in the 7th round, and that kid's a stud. So I think with Cortland Sutton being 29 next year, he's going to be 30, and I think next year's his last year on the contract. I think they go after, quarterback. I'm sorry, wide receiver. Draft is complete. Let's see. Okay,
Can he save Eddie?
I
And
can't even. What's up?
I said, can he save the picks that we got? I don't know how you're gonna save it. Maybe save it to computer or something. That's pretty cool.
Let's see.
Oh, this shows you like all the picks.
Jesus, man, this thing's touchy.
Oh, it saved the whole draft. I thought it would only save the Broncos stuff, but
Yeah, here we go. So he took Amari and Hampton at pick 20. What's up?
Eddie, they got Chidor going
That's
first.
pretty much all of our picks. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this because I got it saved on. What was that, Mohammed? You cut out there, bud.
No, I was saying that it showed that Shador was going first before Cam Ward to the Titans. I thought that was weird.
Like I said, his stock is rising, bro. I wouldn't be surprised. Like the Titans might shock everybody. They might take freaking Shador Sanders. I know Cam Ward seems to be the leading one, but this draft class this year for quarterbacks, it's not like past draft classes where you're like, oh no, this guy is a surefire number 1 QB. Like last year, it was Caleb Williams. The year before, it was Bryce Young. In 2021, I think or 2020, it was Trevor Lawrence. Like those years, those quarterbacks were 100% going number 1. Everybody knew that, hey, these quarterbacks are going to go number 1. It was Shador going up the draft board. Maybe Cam Ward doesn't go first. Maybe it is Shador. So,
Yeah,
but
I can't wait, Eddie. It's
any
gonna be.
final what are your final thoughts on the draft this year, Mohammed? Do you think the Broncos get it right, and do you think that they fill in the rest of the holes they need to on this team?
They would, but to me, Eddie, like, so here's what I'm thinking. As far as like the running backs, since it's pretty deep, whoever we think is the pick might not be the case. Um, Sean Payton might have a different opinion, like as far as the running backs, especially if like Genty is gone, O'Marion, Hampton is gone. So maybe if he sees that, he's like, well, we can wait for the second round. We can go and get a D lineman or like if a good defensive line person drops, he might go for first round and get him. Or if a linebacker, I mean, if a tight end, if Loveland drops, he might say, you know what, I might go with him and wait until the second round to get a running back. So this is a lot of different scenarios. They might also trade back. So, but I trust him. I trust Sean Payton. Um, if we get the running back, Eddie, I don't really care what they do with the rest because that's to me that's what we're really missing. Especially after the addition we did for the we did in free agency, right? So I just hope
Yeah.
they get the right, and maybe they'll go two running backs. Who knows? I've actually heard that they go first round, second round running backs. And then maybe get a tight end or third round. So we shall see.
I think they go running back. Like, regardless if they trade back, trade up, say a 20 or whatever. Me personally, their first pick, they're going running back. They have to. That's the last glaring hole on this roster. And I kind of believe you, Mama. I think, like, if Genty's gone, Hampton's gone at pick 20, they might trade back and get one of those other, young running backs. And then maybe pick up an additional second rounder, maybe pick up a third or whatever, and then they take a running back in round one, they take a tight end in round two, because Loveland, Warren, Mason, Helm, one of those guys is going to drop to the second round, and I believe the Broncos will take a tight end. Like, I think their first two picks are going to be offense, running back and tight end, and then maybe even their first three picks, like they might go wide receiver in the third round. So, I mean, they bolstered that defense more than anything. They got the safety of the future. They got, the linebacker of the future. Both those guys are young. They're like 25 or 27, 26 in Greenlaw and Hufunga. So, I mean, defensive line maybe, because I think after this year, John Franklin Myers is going to be gone because they're going to want to pay Zach Allen.
Yeah.
So, but that's my thought. But before we get out of here tonight, Mohammed, you got any final thoughts for the draft and just the season in general?
Well, Eddie, like we have like an opportunity since we got Bonix, on a rookie contract, and most of the teams that actually finds a quarterback feel like, okay, so this is our window, 2-3 years. Let's build around this quarterback and try to go to the Super Bowl, try to win a Super Bowl. And I think that's what the Broncos are doing. And I think that's why the Chiefs are having such a hard time because after you pay a quarterback and you pay a couple of more players, what are you going to do? Same thing with the Bengals. They just paid two wide receivers. That's just insane, Eddie. Like the amount of money they have in offense. So that's the balance, and that's we're actually in a very good situation. So I really hope and I believe that we can do something with it.
Yeah, I do too. Like I said, the Chiefs, they're not going to cakewalk this division. 3 out of the 4 teams have their head coaches and quarterbacks in this division, and the Chiefs ain't just going to cakewalk it. And you had to spend money on both sides. Like the Bengals, I think they're stupid. They're not winning nothing this year. Like, they're literally putting, like, I understand they wanted to make Joe Burrow happy. He wanted to keep T. Higgins, but it's like, dude, your defense is suffering so bad. Like, how many games last year where you had to play hero, Joe, that you were, bailing the defense out, bailing the team out, trying to, and winning some games. I'm not going to lie. They did win, but you need a defense to back you up. Tom Brady needed a defense. Patrick Mahomes needs a defense. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, uh, All the greats, Ben Roethlisberger, they all needed defenses. You can't spend the 80% of your cap on the offensive side and say the hell with the other side. You still need a defense to compete. So I think this year, the AFC conference is going to be a little bit easier um, than previous years. I'm not saying it's going to be easier than the NFC, but it's going to be easier than previous years. I mean, you're going to still have some of the top dogs. I think you're still going to have the Bills, the Ravens, squeak in. Chargers or Broncos squeak in, or not squeak in, but win the division. I think the Texans win their division, and after that, I think you got the division winners, and maybe like the Chargers, and then after that, it's like, okay, whoever can make it,
Pretty much, yeah.
So, but that's my thoughts. I can't wait until the draft. We got 25 days until the draft starts, and I can't wait for that night, man. I got the night off work. We're gonna be doing a whole, podcast on draft night for the first round. We're gonna be here through the entire thing. We're gonna stream from the first pick to the last pick to the first round, and I'm excited about it, man. It's gonna be fun. It's probably be like a 3-hour, podcast of just sitting here going over the picks and watching who picks who. But I'm excited, man. I can't wait for the season either. And I will be going to the Giants game this year because I want to be there when Russ comes back and we kick his ass. So, but yeah, that's it for us tonight, guys. Make sure next week we'll be back. Like I said, draft night, first round. Me and Mohamed will be doing a long podcast. We'll be covering the entire first round of the draft. And please like, comment, subscribe on this video, and also hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. Mohamed, I'll see you next week, man.
All right, take care.
See you guys. Peace.